What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a Jacked Ramsays After Dark. Danny Marang here, following the Portland Trailblazers win over the Golden State Warriors Wednesday night. A 125-122 game that was honestly one of the most fun games of the season. I didn't get to watch the first quarter because Josh Hart was traded at tip-off. We'll dive into the game maybe here in a second. But obviously the big news originally was Josh Hart being traded about 10 minutes before tip-off. Obviously, Kevin Durant has since been traded by the Brooklyn Nets to the Phoenix Suns for Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jae Crowder, and 4 unprotected first-round picks, huevos grandes, from the Suns' new owner, Matt Ishbia. There is a lot to talk about. Let's talk about the Portland side of things. You know what? Let's look at the game out of the way real quick. We'll do a quick recap here. 125-122. Portland Trailblazers commit 21 turnovers, hit 8 threes, and for the most part controlled the Golden State Warriors the entire game, which is absolutely insane. That's all I got to say. No, I'm just trolling. Fun game, great game. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it does. Getting a good win on a night before the trade deadline is certainly not a bad thing. But the transaction of the night, the Portland Trailblazers trade Josh Hart to the New York Knicks for Cam Reddish, a protected first-round pick, the 2023 pick of the New York Knicks. That is important. Is also to make the salary filler, Ryan Arcidiacono and Svi Mykhailiuk, also to make the salary work. The insanity of tonight has been nuts. I got a note probably about 10 minutes before the trade went through that Josh was going to New York, and it was Cam Reddish. But what I was told was there's something else, and I had been told multiple times that Isaiah Hartenstein, if he was moved, was going to be moved to another team. And I was like, well, maybe that changed. When it became a first-round pick, my eyes kind of lit up because that was reported as Cam Reddish and a first-round pick. Then it was like, well, there has to be a third team involved because the salary, because then it was reported that Svi Mykhailiuk was also in it. I'm like, that's still not enough. That doesn't get them there. And then Arcidiacono was added as well. And I was like, well, that gets them there. This is a move that I tweeted about it earlier. Just when I was like, wow, okay, this is an interesting deal. Is locally, and it's even in the comments right now, people are losing their collective minds. Don't judge this stuff until noon. If this is all that they do, they got worse as a basketball team on paper, I'll kill them. I'll kill them here. I'll kill them on the radio. I'll go on TV. Oh, I will absolutely bludgeon them. But I'm waiting till noon. Like, that's how you have to evaluate this stuff. Beyond that, they got a first-round pick for Josh Hart, which I told was not happening in this market. I told that was unequivocally not happening in this market, especially with the way people were talking about certain deals. And for everybody who's like, well, I thought they were getting Vando. Danny Ainge, I've said this 1,000 times, made a deal with the devil, and he got his first-round pick. And for everybody's like, oh, the Lakers fleeced the Jazz. Look, man, Malik Beasley's nuts. D'Angelo Russell is not. Like, they didn't get a lot for D'Angelo Russell. Evaluate how things went. That's how those guys were viewed around the league. And as it pertains to Vando, he was a guy that was available for a contract and 2 second-round picks. That's the thing. It's people like, well, did they get a first? It's protected. Lol. Yes, they got a first. I'd be willing to bet right now that the Knicks are making the playoffs. Like, if you look at where they're sitting at and who's behind them, no, I don't think the Knicks are missing the playoffs. Tibbs teams kind of, they have a floor. Their ceiling isn't too high, but their floor is pretty high. But the value that they got there, I don't think that's necessarily what they want in the sense of, like, they're going to hold on to the pick. I think that that's something that they're probably going to use. Before the Arcidiacono Svi Mykhailiuk names were in there, I got notes that the Blazers were working with the third team. And that's why I was like, I think there's some more here. And number one, financially, they had to be further apart, or they had to add more to the deal. But also, I had multiple people telling me that there was possibly a third team being looped in on it. That leads me to believe that they're probably looking at either making a big offer by including a pick that allows them to free up their own pick, or include this pick in another deal. And that allows them to go chasing something else. The Kevin Durant news figures into this pretty heavily because a name that I've heard the Blazers linked to is Jae Crowder, and I believe it was Woj. Let me go through it real quick because I want to give credit where credit's due. I believe Woj said that Jae Crowder is a name that there it is. The Nets are expected to explore trade scenarios for Jae Crowder ahead of today's 3 p.m. Eastern deadline. And so I've heard Portland linked with them before, or linked with Jay before. I don't know. I'm not against a move for Jae Crowder, but I'm not for it either. I'm abstaining from the vote. Let's go that way. I don't think that really, like, he's a guy that I would rather see on a team like a Milwaukee or a Philadelphia, a team that's like, okay, it's the last piece before your title. That's the kind of way that I look at that. But there's also Royce O'Neal in Brooklyn. Obviously, the big swing, and I've seen everybody ask about it in the chat, Mikal Bridges. I don't know if Portland has the appetite for that move right now. I'd be interested to see where they evaluate where they are, or they got this pick in anticipation of this deal happening and hoping that they could be a part of something here. Dorian Finney-Smith could be a guy on the way out there. Like there's a lot there, and I'm not saying Crowder is the guy that they're going after. It's a name that I've heard before, and I've seen a lot of people say Cam Johnson. I don't think as good as Cam is. I really like Cam as a player. I don't think Cam Johnson is is the right guy for them in the sense of he's more of a 4. They still don't have the 3. They don't have that true kind of wing kind of player. Mikal's that dude. Do not question that. When I waffle and waver about 3 firsts for OG, and I laugh at that, like I wouldn't like just straight 3 firsts if that was possible. Like Mikal, Mikal is worth more than OG to me. Like that's kind of where I fall. But the team obviously to watch right now is Brooklyn. It's kind of funny. Coming full circle, all they need to do is add Karis LeVert. Like if they trade for Karis LeVert, they basically got the band back together. Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, Karis LeVert. Jared Allen's not leaving Cleveland, but I don't think this is. I don't think Brooklyn's done. I think Brooklyn is definitely trying to figure some stuff out. What do they want to keep? What do they want to go with? How gritty they kind of want to go? For everybody's like, well, the Blazers could have made an offer for Kevin Durant. They didn't have 4 unprotected first-round picks, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jae Crowder, to put in a deal, and then also have Devin Booker, also have DeAndre Ayton, also have Chris Paul. You give up Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, all your draft capital. What are you pairing him with? Damian Lillard, Jeremy Grant, and Yusuf Nurkic? Let's be real here. I was hoping that if the Blazers were going to make a big swing like this, it would last until the summer. Because perhaps they could adjust some things everywhere else once the picks were conveyed. They could do some things down the road that in the summer, that would be the bigger trade. This is a monumental shift in the Western Conference. If KD can stay, again, this is the caveat. If KD can stay healthy, if Chris Paul can stay healthy, a lineup of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, insert dude here in DeAndre Ayton, that's a good team. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to DeAndre Ayton lately. Real good. Real good. Where do the Blazers go from here? I don't know. I don't know what they have up their sleeve, what moves they're trying to do. For all of the, it's over, the West is done, like, you can kind of react how you want to. I'm not going to legislate that. I'm going to laugh at people who go way one way or the other. But I look at this right now, this Suns team is very combustible. It's not Nets combustible, but this isn't a sure thing. It's dangerous. It's lethal. It's terrifying. There's no doubt about it. They went all in. Matt Ishbia went whoop, put his balls up on the table and said, who's going to match these? That's it's a pretty good team. But, it's about windows. Chris Paul's window it's over after this, man. Like, that was, it is kind of what it is in that regard. But turning back to Portland, they have the extra first, which frees some things up. They have, if they want to use that first in a different way and attach it to Jusuf Nurkic, there were teams that were chasing Jakob Poeltl. Does one of those teams that was chasing Jakob Poeltl that didn't get him, do they now maybe look at Jusuf Nurkic as a consolation prize? Like, you look at how things are shaping up, it's one of those situations where, again, I come full circle. The idea of evaluating this deadline when it's all done. We've got 12 hours? 12 hours and 3 minutes. 12 hours and 3 minutes. And I don't think that's the end of things for the Dame era. I'm seeing that stuff on Twitter and in the comments, and most people didn't think Kevin Durant was going to shake free. Like, I talked to players from both teams tonight, and both sets of players were like, didn't think that was happening right now. So, if you're the Blazers, maybe the option is to just kind of stockpile things and then move some salaries around, load for bear for the summer. That's an option. It's one that the Blazers and Joe Cronin and Jody Allen and Bert Cole will get killed for. They will. And probably rightfully so. Because if this is the only move right now, they got worse on the floor. I'm not going to argue that. Now, there's potential perhaps in Cam Reddish because he's 6'8" and talented, but he's busted out in two places or burned out in two places. Do they get something at him? I don't know. As of right now, go if unless they get as that sounds. I don't. Was that a Woj? Okay, never mind. It was my PC was acting weird. The OG Anunoby stuff. I saw Woj's tweet about it. The Toronto's talks and OG Anunoby are rolling into the final hours of the trade deadline, which is 12 hours away. Landing of Kevin Durant with the Suns could escalate Anunoby's value for Western Conference teams pursuing an Elite Four to defend Kevin Durant. Ah, yes. The forwards that can defend Kevin Durant. Those don't exist. So, feels a little inflationary there for old Woj. But, you know, it is what it is. Again, I don't believe 3 first-round picks is OG. Kevin Durant got 4. Just, you know. We'll find the sweet spot. There have been trades that have been back, and the value scaling this trade cycle has kind of been weird. Rui in 3 seconds, and then there was the rumored price of a couple seconds in a player for Jared Vanderbilt. They end up taking a first, but it looks like it's going one way or the other. It's the value scaling has really kind of been in the eye of the beholder. So it's interesting. I don't want to bludgeon them. I want them to make another move. But if it comes down to it, I mean, it is what it is, and you can only evaluate in the process. And I think that the team and the organization knows that. I haven't looked at the exact financials. I saw Bobby Marks had it. I want to say they were $3.2 million under the tax line now. Good God, they just showed the Brooklyn Nets draft hauls, and it's... Oh, they also did get a pick swap, so they got 23, 25, 27, 29, and a pick swap in 2028. And they saved $36 million in contracts. Huh, okay. I want to find the notes here on Portland. So they created a $7 million trade exception, and they got $3.2 million below the tax, which is a little bit more wiggle room than the $67,012 or something along those lines before that area. So that does give them a little bit more wiggle room. The thing about the Blazers not being done is they have to at least make a transactionary move because they have currently 16 players on the roster. So the idea of where it sits, where the Blazers sit with that wiggle room and what they can accomplish. My fear here is that if this is the only move, if it looks like a duck, it's quacks like a duck, flies like a duck, it becomes about savings and luxury tax payouts. And you can only say so many times that they're willing to go into the tax and then not do it before it's like, ownership's got to kind of pay up. So, again, I'm not going to kill them for it right now. This podcast, this live show is good for a whole 12 hours. And again, tune into Danny and Dusty noon to 3. We'll be live as soon as the trade deadline goes out, and we'll probably spend the first hour diving into the trade deadline stuff. The one thing that I don't think the Blazers are going to do is go for something here and do a drastic overpay. And I don't expect Damian Lillard to ask out. I don't expect anything along those lines. I don't think this changes the vision or accelerates, or it was gonna be a process that builds towards this summer. The one thing that I have appreciated from the front office is that they didn't say that, we'll have this thing fixed and righted and we'll be a championship contender right away. They knew it wasn't going to be easy. It's not. But the same reason I held Neil to the fire for not making moves when moves were available, it'll be interesting to see what moves were out there and what things go for and what they were or weren't willing to give. They did not have the capacity to match Phoenix's offer, nor do they have the capacity to build a title team after giving up what they would need to get Kevin Durant. Both those things are true. You can argue with me until you're blue in the face on that. I love Ant. I love Shaden. They are not that package. They aren't. It's very simple. They are not 4 unprotected first-round picks of the Blazers. They could not match that. So, but these are the kind of things that you look for when you're the organization, is that you do what the Suns did here, which was stockpile and build and hit on the draft, develop for a period of time, and then see what comes next and have the assets necessary to strike. Now, that's a good question as far just saw pop up. What would Mikal cost us? It would cost Anthony. Or it could cost Shaden, depending on which way the Nets go. Are they going to go young? It's not like Ant's old, but who do they believe in more? Like, do they want to take the big swing, or do they want to take the guy who has already shown he can do some stuff? But Mikal would cost one of those things, There's no doubt about it. Absolutely unquestionable. There's no doubt about that. Mikal was already a dude, defensive player of the year candidate, all defense, like phenomenal player. And there's people I've talked to around the league, and he's shown it the last 2 weeks. He's developing into a pick and roll ball handler. Like he's doing things that I don't think OG can ever do. He's showing wiggle and creation ability where I don't think OG has that. To be fair, I've never seen OG display any of the things that Mikal has shown over the last 2 or 3 weeks with Chris Paul out of the lineup, Devin Booker out of the lineup. Like Bridges is like if you've followed me for any period of time, I've loved Mikal since he was drafted. He's a phenomenal player. I legitimately think he would be a perfect fit in Portland. There's no doubt about that. Now it's up to the Blazers to see what they can do to get. I had somebody ask me on the way home. I got a text. What's kind of like your perfect deadline as things look right now? This was after the Kevin Durant trade. And for me, as things currently sit, a perfect deadline is finding a way to move Nurk that's not painful, where you can get a viable big back. Bamba, Hartenstein, Nerlens Noel, a Daniel Gafford. Like, I'm not being wildly picky, but I also very much in the vein of, like, give me somebody who can move. Give me somebody who can move. Because you saw tonight against the Warriors what this team can do, and you saw it on that road trip without Nurkic, what this team can do playing smaller. Now, they got the crap kicked out of them by a much bigger Chicago team. I would like to just get bigger, longer, more athletic. I've been saying this for 2023, 8 years now. Bigger, longer, stronger, more athletic, less siloed. Get a rim runner, floor stretcher. I don't care which side of it is, but give me somebody who defensively, who can cover ground, who is a athletic threat, either a legitimate floor stretcher or a legitimate rim runner, who finishes to change things up. Give me that on top of, I don't know, Justice Winslow, and he's going to expire, and I don't think there's a world where they're going to bring him back. So, as much as I love Justice. But Justice and, I don't know, they have a second left somewhere. But for like a Royce O'Neal, a starting caliber small forward. That would be a home run for where they sit right now so that they have their assets going into the summer. Unless there is an offer on the table for a team from a team that has a no doubt difference maker. I am not going all in on a question mark for all of the, no, give Anton picks for OG. I will take you and ball you up into a cannon and shoot you into the sun myself. I am not operating out of desperation. No. I do not want that. I don't want moves around the edges as the end goal. That's the difference. For everybody who's like, well, this is just a small move right now. The difference is when the big moves came, Neil watched them. I believe that Joe will swing at the pitch. Now, he has to prove me right or wrong. That's still up to him. But I believe that when that opportunity does present itself, I believe they will swing. In my conversations with him over the last year, I genuinely believe that he would take a swing. I hope I'm right. That's just been my read on the situation. I don't think that they did a disservice by not landing Kevin Durant tonight. Because they couldn't. They can't match that. That's just the reality. Well, why didn't you do this? They can't match that. There's been opportunities in the past 10 years, the prior general manager, president of basketball operations, where opportunities for star players in their prime could have been had. And they did not do it because they wouldn't put the offer up. I think that if player X, some team is going to flame out in the playoffs. Every year something happens. Does that guarantee somebody shakes free? No. What if the Celtics somehow fall on their face in the first round? Does a Jaylen Brown come free? I doubt it, but who knows? You just never know. And that's why team building is such a pain in the ass. You don't have these opportunities. Number one, they don't come along very often. Number two, you have to have everything ready to have the opportunity to get that guy. And I think that's the position they're in. It's a great point. The Timberwolves, look, man, we can argue until we're blue in the face. Timberwolves and Cavs, until we're blue in the face about whether or not Donovan Mitchell is the right move or Rudy Gobert is the right move or wasn't. But they anteed up when there was an opportunity. For the Wolves, I said it when it happened. I like this move for them because they don't land anybody. They've been one of the worst franchises in basketball, the worst winning percentage in basketball as a franchise. That, you know what, man? Getting to the playoffs and maybe winning a round, that might be good for you. It might be good for you to build some kind of winning culture because you guys have sucked for so long. The same with the Cavs. They have all these assets. Why not add up and go, let's see what happens. You just take a look at those and you see which way you want to go. It's just an opportunity. What? Everybody's sitting here talking about OG got traded. I haven't seen anything pop up. Did that just happen? I don't see anything in here unless my Twitter's broken. So, yeah, I can't trust anything right now. I'm literally just trusting my text messages because Twitter picked a hell of a day to break. That's for sure. Little thing here, kids. If you're gonna get trades being done, if you're watching for something, make sure they have the real check mark. Turn on your alerts only for the guys that matter. I want to talk about the game tonight for real quick because it's more of a framing mechanism in that I think you saw more, again, proof of concept for what the Blazers want to do. To be more aggressive, they ended up being in a lineup that where they switched everything across in the fourth quarter, and that's just something they haven't been able to do. So again, to kind of tie that back to the home run swing or the home run off season of getting guys that make more sense for what they want to do, but not moving all in. I think that's not even the home run. I think that's what I want to see happen more than anything. Somebody put something in here what were the examples of the guys that could have been had for the Blazers or the big trades? Jimmy Butler and Paul George. Or both guys that could have been had. Those are both guys that could have. Both guys that could have been picked up. So, sorry, I just got a note from somebody else, and it's a good thing to point out as far as where the Nets stand as far as leverage. Cam Johnson again, is a guy that obviously people are talking about, is somebody who's going to want to get paid. Is that a guy that the Nets want to keep? Not necessarily for Portland, but it's the decision they have to make. Dorian Finney-Smith is a starter. Is he now coming off the bench behind Mikal Bridges? Are they going to start them both and bring Cam Johnson off the bench? They have Jae Crowder. They have Royce O'Neal. Like, can you get guys on the cheap to keep your assets for the summer to figure something out? Because right now, that other star, that other opportunity isn't available. The only thing that you can do right now is prepare yourself for when that guy comes free. It's the only thing you can do. You can't force that hand. And for everybody who says, well, what's the difference between Joe and Neil? When those opportunities came, he didn't go for it. Now, will Joe? When those opportunities are there, will they go? And that's ultimately what he'll be judged on, at least by me. It's nice to make little moves here or there to round out a roster. Like that's something we are very, very familiar with here in Portland. An impact transaction, the only one that has been made in the last 10 or 8 years since LaMarcus left, the biggest transaction, I should say the two biggest transactions in this franchise's history, or in the last 8 years, following LaMarcus leaving, were both done by Joe Cronin. Trading C.J. McCollum and trading for Jeremy Grant. Those were both done by Joe Cronin. Hell, you can have the third one in there, tanking and gritting a lottery pick. For everybody's like, why do you believe? Or why do I think that? Because he's already shown more balls than the last guy. To be very blunt about it. Like, I can't be mad or frustrated about anybody unless the deal comes along. And that's the stupid and the very difficult and hard thing about team building. It's fundamentally what it comes down to. So, quick update on stuff in general. Like I said, Dusty and I will have the the radio show, noon to 3. As soon as the trade deadline hits, we will be going up and we will dive into every last bit of it. I believe the Trailblazers are planning to have availability on Friday. I will have Joe Cronin will be either on the radio or on the show here following the deadline in the next couple of days. Is, I believe, the plan. And then, like I said, I'm efforting to get Trent in as well, as long as he maintains to be a Trailblazer. He had a nice little fun game tonight. So that's kind of like what's coming up in the immediacy. And this is a question I've seen kind of pop up, and I do want to address it from Connor. Do I believe there's still an avenue for a chip here with Dame? Yes, in the sense of, and again, this is I am putting faith in Joe Cronin based on our conversations and his actions. That if an opportunity arises, they will at least give him the opportunity to be in the position. That's all I ever asked. And honestly, I think that's Dame all Dame will ever ask for. Is just a legitimate chance. Because, listen, that Western Conference Finals run, so fun. So fun, right? I wouldn't trade that unless you meant tearing things down in 2017. But they weren't a contender. They weren't. 2015, before West's Achilles went, that was a team that was that's a Western Conference Finals team. And if things go your way, maybe you find yourself in the finals. You maybe lose. But that team was a better team by leaps and bounds. I want them to get above that 2015 team. That's what I want to see happen. That's what I want to see. Give Damian Lillard a chance with a team better than that 2015 team. I think if they do that, I think I can live with that. As far as like, they gave him an opportunity. It's a dark horse chance because here's the thing. In the last 40 years, 14 franchises have won titles. That's it. That's it. Like, it's hard, man. And the Blazers in those 40 years were in the finals twice. And had they not screwed up a fourth quarter, would have been their third time. So it would have been 15. Because they would have beat the 76ers. Let's be real. We all know they would have. Being honest, how do we ever compete with a Phoenix or a Memphis or a Boston? We just don't. They have way more assets than we do. They didn't. That's the thing. They sucked. The Celtics were a very bad franchise, and then they went through a couple iterations. The Suns, good God, they were a dumpster fire. Memphis, the post-grit and grind Grizzlies were a disaster. Then they got lucky in the lottery, and they hit. Sometimes you get the top pick in the lottery, and you get Anthony Bennett. Ooh. Like, even if you get at the top, it's not a guarantee. Just kind of is what it is. So, it is now midnight. So thank you guys for being in here. It's been like over 600 of you in here at midnight. I love that you all are absolute psychopaths that want to be here. Appreciate you. Love you. Like, rate, review, subscribe, do all of those things. This is another question that just came in. Do players want to play with Dame? Yes. Yes. I know multiple star level players that want to play with Damian Lillard. Absolutely on 100, as the kids say. 100. So, I am going to crash out. I'm going to post this on the podcast. It'll be viable for a whole 12 hours, and then we will do the radio show noon to 3 with Dusty on 1080 The Fan. You can listen on the radio or you can listen on the Odyssey app. Brandon and I will have a Jack Ramsays live when I get home. So I think we'll probably go at like 4:30, something like that. As soon as it takes me about an hour to get home from downtown. So, and then we'll dive into everything. And then listen, if this is all that there is, I'm not going to be thrilled. Full disclosure, I expected more. I still expect more, to be totally clear. So we'll see what happens. We have 12 hours now. 12 hours and 6 minutes. Well, I must have read my watch wrong earlier. I think I said 12 hours and 3 minutes. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So, again, thank you all. I appreciate you for riding with me. Again, like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show. We have you covered from noon to 3. And then Brandon and I will cover you guys when we get home. And then we will have the press conference and the game on Friday. And then we will tie it all together when we bring Joe either on the radio or here on the show. So, again, thank you. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Try to let go until at least the deadline. And then, if they don't get anything else done, I'll be mad with you. So, take care. Talk soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. And catch you in 12 hours. Bye.